Welcome to Our Future is Kind, a podcast exploring how we build the future we want to live in, one kind act at a time. I'm your host, Michael Neece, president of Our Future is Kind, and your companion in conversations about kindness, leadership, connection, and courage. Each week, I sit down with thoughtful leaders, creators, and bridge builders to explore what a healthier, more humane future could look like, and the choices it takes to build it. These are honest conversations about purpose, culture, curiosity, and what it really means to show up for one another at work, in our communities, and in everyday life. Along the way, we'll unearth practical ideas, small but meaningful acts, and questions worth sitting with, because building what's next is a choice. So let's dive in. Shari Alyse is a TV host, international #1 bestselling author, 2 times TEDx speaker, and one of today's most powerful voices in the joy and wellness space. With over 25 years of experience in media and entertainment, Shari has made 100 plus appearances on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, and is the host and executive producer of the top-ranked talk show, Good Morning Joy, now streaming on Amazon Prime, Tubi, Apple TV, Roku, and more. She is also the host of the critically acclaimed, amazing docuseries, Joy Drive. Shari Alyse, welcome back to the program.
Michael, I am so thrilled to be back with you. And I feel like you should do the intro for everybody. I'm just like, whoa, yes. Like I want to run out on stage and be like, that's me.
Well, you're amazing. And you always put a smile on my face every time I talk to you. So
awesome.
Yeah. So I told everybody who I think you are and who the world thinks you are. But please take a moment to just tell us what makes you, you.
That's such an interesting question. I don't know why I find like the first thing that literally came to mind was I sing the most random songs that I make up. I know that's not it, but it literally, before we started this, like my partner, he said something and then I just started singing a song about shampoo and it's just by myself. It's not for him. It's just, and then I said, I'm so my grandfather. And so I would say what makes me me is I am not afraid to be who I am. And that I think is a rarity in today's world because we're under so much pressure often to be like everybody else or to be something else. And yeah, I think I've embraced that about myself, that I'm as weird as they come and beautiful at the same time.
Yes, and filled with joy and just so willing to share with us hard moments as well as the beautiful, happy moments. I have to tell you that there are so many times that I tune into just sometimes it's a 20-second clip, sometimes it's a 2-minute clip. And you share these great videos from mountaintop vistas, and they're so heartfelt, and sometimes they're just really poignant as well. How do you come up with these? Where do they come from? And why are you so willing to share yourself? And I'm glad that you are. I am glad that you are, because I really see a lot of my own experience in a lot of what you share. But tell.
That's the reason right there, because I know that it connects us all. I know that what I am going through, while the details might be slightly different, that emotion, that question, that thing that I'm moving through, somebody else's as well. And I learned that years ago. Number one, at 7 years old, I faced a trauma and I had to speak out against the person on a witness stand. And I found at that young age that there was a lot of other victims that this had happened to. And so I had stopped that person from then being able. So I learned very early that speaking our truth and sharing that can help and change lives. And that has always been with me to continue to share, even when it's hard. And a lot of the time, like, I'm not so selfless. Like, a lot of the time it's me just external processing and figuring out for myself and walking and talking my way through it.
Well, I think there's so many of us who struggle with these moments, and we do it in private, and the tears flow, or we yell at a picture on the wall, or whatever it is. We have these moments that just feel real and raw. And by sharing these moments with us, because you now have a not a podcast, right? Which in which you are sharing these moments as well. Yeah.
Yeah. That one, so I called it something because I had no idea what it is or was. I just knew that I needed some sort of other outlet. And it was because I'm going through a really hard time with grief, and I couldn't find myself to get out of the house to go for my hikes. And I knew that I needed to get that out of me.
Yeah.
Whatever was in here. And so it is so much more, I don't want to say authentic or real because they all are, but it's heavier because I'm going through a stage. And again, the same thing. Like, I know that in the sharing, it's like a purging for myself, but it's also a filling up for somebody else. And in that, in between is healing for all of us.
Well, psychiatrists, psychologists say that if you state certain things aloud, it actually dampens certain emotions. So if you say, I'm angry, or I'm sad, or I'm confused, though just having those words come into existence where you are the one producing the words and you're hearing the words, and you know that they might even land with somebody, it actually tamps down some of those harder emotions. And when you say things like, I'm in love, or I'm happy, or I'm excited about this thing, or I'm inspired, that actually amps them up. It actually magnifies them. So I think you're doing the world a great service by all of the messages.
Thank you. Although as you're saying that, I'm like, I have this internal struggle, and I've talked about it on the non-podcast podcast, is this whole thing about verbalizing things that aren't so great, but that I'm going through. And then am I magnetizing that? Like, am I attracting more of that? You know, that whole like law of attraction. So like I go through all of this, and that fine balance of finding the balance between letting stuff out and being real with myself, and then also knowing like, well, let's highlight and spotlight the good things even more. Sure.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you let it all out for the world and for yourself. And I want to share with the audience very quickly, in case you don't know how Shari and I know each other. We met through a mutual friend, Brian Byro, who mentioned that Shari was leading a multi-author book project. For those of you watching, I'm going to point to our little book because I have it up in my background here, Joy Unleashed. Yep. And so tell us about that book, because once I met you, I knew for sure I needed to collaborate with you on this. I was so excited about it. So tell us about that book.
Yeah, I was just as excited, if not more, that you decided to be a part of it, because you added so much, like the word characters coming to mind, like character, like in so many good ways. Like you just gave it life. I don't know another way to say that, and have amplified it in so many ways. I mean, Joy Unleashed really is what it sounds like. What are the ways, 25 tools to be able to give people to ultimately live their best life. And all of us experience joy in different ways. And like you mentioned in the beginning, you know, I've spent decades talking about joy, sharing it from my lens and my perspective. And as cool as that is, I know that there are a lot more people out there that have more experiences. And so after the passing of my father last year, I decided, you know what, like I need a little of this joy myself. And I reached out to 24 other authors to share their insights to joy and what that looks like for them and how they were able to unleash it in their own lives.
And I was so happy to be part of that community that you cultivated. It was really fun because as we built the book, we had all these great celebratory meetings and got to know each other and build a network with people that I didn't know, but that I really should have known. And so it was great that you were able to pull us all together. How did you find all of these great people?
I begged. No. I've been connected to a beautiful community of healers, wellness people, spiritual in that space And honestly, like people that early on agreed, then they invited their community. And like you said, we met through Brian. And so being able to mix, and of course, the most 24 people, perfect people came together to provide such different tools, different sparks, different wisdom. So yeah, it was a mix of my own community and then their communities.
So for those of you listening in, we'll have it in the show notes, but definitely get a copy of our of the collaborative work that we were on, the Joy Unleashed. It is such a fun book that we got to write, and there are hard moments. There's some stories in there that my story was not particularly easy, and I know that you shared some things that were also, weighty, but also great strategies on how to find joy. So
yeah, and I think that was the important part of the book, is that people immediately think, in my experience, having been in this space, that everything is okay and like there's no problems, and joy is like this, this surface level thing. And through these stories and yours that you shared so vulnerably, that we all face the challenges and the hardships, but it's like, what do we receive out of those? How do we step forward in spite of them? And what's on that other side? And you did that. I was moved by your story and by so many of them. And so I think it is, again, a relatable book for everybody at some point in their lives.
And it was such an inspiration to be able to put all of these stories together and be a part of it, that I took on the mantle of being a lead author on my own book project. So Our Future is Kind is now not just a podcast. Our Future is Kind is also going to be in book form in November of this year. And I am so excited that you said yes to joining the cast of this book.
Of zany characters.
That's right.
Yeah. Honestly, Michael, like there was no way that I couldn't say yes to working with you again, to collaborating with you. And honestly, like kindness and joy, there's not even, we'll probably talk about it later, but like they just go hand in hand. They are each other. So it was a no-brainer for me to, number one, be able to add more of that into the world, but also to be part of this with you.
And a couple of others from our first book collaboration. I know Julie Goldberg is coming into this. Brian Biro was not in Joy Unleashed, but he is going to be in this one. So it's very exciting. And
yeah, you've got some great people. It's going to be in another amazing book that's going to change lives for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about the connection between joy and kindness, because in this new book, there is a focus both on the future and how to build it, and the importance of kindness in living our lives and trying to build that future. What kinds of things are you hoping end up in the book? And you don't have to tell us exactly what you're going to write, but have you had any thoughts about just the relationship between joy and kindness and future building?
Yes, I have. Why, yes, I have, Michael.
Oh,
I've thought about this. I have. And I think about joy and kindness as not just being connected to each other, but made of each other. Like there is a deep, they're both two sides of a coin, which really are about presence. So in my viewpoint, I believe that so many of us don't really see each other anymore. In a world of screens, in a world of speed, through life and getting things done, and in a world of isolation, like we don't look at each other, we don't feel seen. And really seeing somebody is an act of kindness, of true kindness. And being seen is being able to receive and feel joy. And so it's this symbiotic relationship. It has like this. And they're both about presence. For me, joy is always about connection. It's about connecting with each other. It's about connecting with nature. It's about connection with purpose and creativity. And so there's some stories and great insights, I think, that I'm going to share about that.
It's wonderful. Yeah, I can't wait to read it. And yeah, when that book comes out later this year, we're going to have another big set of celebrations. So
Yes. I hate these celebrations, Michael.
yes, I mean, yeah, I mean, thinking about what's going on in the world currently
Yeah.
and in our own personal lives. I mean, there are hard moments that I think a lot of people are experiencing across the globe. What do you say to them about finding joy, about being kind, about trying to still live by the values that matter to us, especially in those moments where it feels terrible?
I feel like that's when we have to do it even more. You know, like and I know that's a simple answer and be like, well, just do it. But it really is when we have to dig deeper and find that place. And, you know, I was blessed in the fact that I was raised in a household where the golden rule was the rule that ruled our house. I've never said that before, but it really was. And from a young age, I just always knew to be kind and respectful to people. And in that, what I developed was really being able to connect with people and really seeing people. And so in that, it makes times like this when there are not such great things happening in the world for me to truly see someone that maybe is not doing such great things and understanding and having empathy towards those people. And so I would say to someone who's going through that, where can we find the empathy? It doesn't mean, and we've heard this, like you forgive and think what they're doing is okay, but where can we show up? Where can you and I show up brighter in the world in order to extinguish some of the darkness? And that's what I have always focused on. What can I do in the world? How can I make it better? In times that are harder, I'm going to dig deeper and shine brighter.
I love that. And I love the fact that, you know, Joy Drive is one of those things that people can turn to if you need a pick-me-up, because you've mentioned it before, and I don't want to have any spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched it yet. But I think you had certain expectations when you went on the drive for what you would find. And then you found something slightly better. Is that right?
Yeah, I think when we're present in every situation, we find something better than we ever imagined. And that's what happened with Joy Drive, is that I set off on a cross-country trip to uncover the secrets to joy, to, as I mentioned, my dad's passing, to spark my own joy again and reignite and learn from other people the way I did in my book, but to meet people across the country. And yes, of course, I had my idea of what this would be. I love travel. I love adventure. I love meeting people. And the travel and the adventure part were probably the hardest parts for me.
Right.
And without giving away, you know, what it is that I discovered or uncovered, it was definitely, let's just say, about everything that I've already mentioned about connection, about being super present and showing up in moments that are triggering and challenging, and then what transforms them and how I transformed or didn't transform by the end.
And if people want to tune into this, which they absolutely should, it's so great. How many episodes are there? Where can they find it?
Yes, so it's 8 episodes. It's streaming on major platforms like Apple TV, Roku, Binge Networks. The easiest place to find it is YouTube, of course. And they could just go to joydriveusa.com. And a little hint that it's just the US version. So we're looking at, you know, hopefully going international. But yeah, that's the best way to be able to find that.
Yeah, I heard the USA and I immediately thought, oh, good. Are there going to be other countries, other continents that you cover? Yay.
We need joy around the world.
We absolutely do. Absolutely. Yeah. So, goodness me, I want to dig back into some questions that I asked you the last time you were on the show and find out if your answers have changed at all. See what your thoughts are in the moment. You ready?
Okay. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so we're going to get into our time machine. We're going to go ahead 100 years. So now it's the year 2126. And as I'm controlling the time machine, I'm saying, hey, Shari Alyse, we have done all the right things. Everything has turned out the best way it possibly could. When I open up the doors to that time machine and we step out, what are you looking for to confirm that I was telling you the truth?
Everybody's smiling. Everybody is smiling. And they're not smiling because something good just happened. They're smiling because everybody feels seen. Their lives, our lives, feel like they're valuable. We feel like we have something to offer everybody. We're doing the things that we love to do. We're collaborating with each other. While technology is growing and, you know, people are against the AI, maybe AI is being used to find some of the people that maybe are lonelier, that we're using things for good. And everything and everybody and everything that's being created is an expression of a creative expression of who we are at our core, because we finally have seen each other, accepted each other, and allowed each other to shine.
I want to live in that future so bad.
We're creating it. Let's create it.
Let's do it. Okay.
And I think the book is going to help with that. I really do.
I think so as well. 25 different experts in various things trying to say, first of all, what are their particular versions of what the future should look like? But then how do they do it? What are the little strategies that they do daily to try to contribute to that? So that's my follow-up question here. We're outside of the time machine, and I say to you, hey, Shari, we did all the right things. What are those right things?
Number one, we've put our phones down.
Yay!
Simple. Yay. I know. And I'm not going to act like I am not guilty of it. But when I have the awareness, I do put them down. I'm like, Shari, you are somewhere. Put your phone away, take in where you are, what you're doing, what you're seeing. That in itself immediately lends to connection to wherever we are, to the present moment, to seeing people, to seeing things, to interacting with it. And so that's number one, put the phone down. Number two is look at somebody. We're looking at people. I know I'm repeating myself, but this is what presence is. And smile, like make eye contact with somebody and smile. I won't share the story here, but a smile that I gave at a time in my life literally saved somebody's life. And that showed me that how badly we all just want to be seen. And I haven't forgotten it. And that's what that's what the world is going to do.
Okay. Well, like you said, let's build this together.
Yes.
I absolutely want to have that great future. And I think the fun part in it is that whether we see it or not, there are going to be humans who come after us, who are going to experience whatever it is that we are creating. They are the inheritors of whatever mess or whatever joyful painting, sculpture, dance, cuisine, whatever it is that we are building. They inherit all of that. Yeah. So do you think in terms of like the young people, and do you come across a lot of young people in your work and find out what their attitudes are right now, or are they discouraged? Are they? Can you find the joy together?
I don't work so much with the youth. Although I am in youthful spaces like TikTok, and I spend a lot of time there, and I see and I listen there. And what I believe that they're missing and what I've heard from some is everything that I've already shared. Like they are growing up with technology in their hands. There is the forgotten this. Right. Of being able to really see each other because we're staring down. And from what I've shared, I believe or seen that they want something different as well. And they may not know what that is, but our youth have some of the biggest numbers when it comes to mental illness and anxiety and depression and all of that. And I believe it's a large part to do with not knowing how to be in this world with one another and with ourselves.
Well, I think you've just hit on something that I think about all the time, which is how do we want to be in the world? What are our choices? And I don't know that in this modern era where everybody's sprinting after timelines and where we're so distractible, that we've taken the moment to say, who am I? What do I stand for? What are my values? What do I want to do? I found myself in a situation the other night with a dear loved one, and my phone was just kind of blowing up. And I had to make the choice between, am I here with this person? Or am I on call for something else? Is it, do I really want to see if something that I posted got an extra like? Or is it, do I need to see what the news is right now? And I just remembered, well, my value system is that I love people. I love people more than I love almost anything else. I mean, cats are really high on the list.
Yeah, I was going to say,
right?
like that.
But cats are kind of people as well anyway.
Yes.
But people. If that's not my focus, then what is my focus? And so I just kept my phone away. I just turned it to quiet, kept it in my pocket, and didn't worry about it. And of course, later on, I looked at it, before I went to bed and realized, yeah, there's nothing in here that I missed. And I got all of that great time with this dear person in my life. So.
And if you didn't know your values, you wouldn't have been able to make that choice. And that's what you said is so important. And that's what I feel like so many are lacking because of the distractions, because we are so in this go, go, go and technology that we don't have a lot of time for self-reflection. Like, even in my own world, and I know about self-awareness and self-reflection, and I know who I am, but who we are changes. And so how often are we checking in with ourselves? How kind are we being to ourselves so then I can show up and be kind to you? Like, it's all interconnected.
There's this space within therapy called DBT. It's the dialectic behavior therapy that I really, really love. I love it in the abstract. I love it in the actual use. And they really recommend that you say, what are my values? I'm going to write them down. What are my short-term goals? I'm going to write them down. What are my long-term goals? I'm going to write them down. And if you're not reviewing those and thinking about those and trying to pull those into all kinds of daily situations, then you're doing yourself a tremendous disservice, because you're just on autopilot. You're just trying to pay the bill and get to the place and, pay for the dinner and all of those things. And you've forgotten that, oh, right, my parents are a priority. Or, oh, right, I want to spend time with my spouse or my partner. I want to spend time with my cat or my dog. And later on, you think about those times when you didn't spend enough time. I know that you've suffered some losses. I have recently suffered some as well. Are you willing to kind of dig into some of that and talk about what does it mean to you as you reflect back on the times that you did have?
I wrote about it in Joy Unleashed, the time with my dad, caregiving for him. He passed from ALS, and I had made the choice knowing that joy, I knew it really in real life, but it was also intellectual, of that joy is connected to the present moment, because I knew that every time I was present with something or something, that was the only time, like, really, I was like, oh yeah, you have to feel that to be able to experience that joy. And so I made a decision that if I was going to move away from my home to another state to caregive for my father, that I was going to be fully present with him. And that meant I wasn't going to focus on my work. Maybe when he went to sleep, I would, like, there was all these decisions that I was making. And in that time that I did that, I understood my life purpose being there with him. I understood everything so much clearer. Joy, while in the midst of this devastating disease and hardship, the moments that him and I shared together, the eyes in which he looked at me and expressed, I love you. Like, I would have missed all of these life-changing moments if I hadn't chosen presence. And so, and also to, like, the relationship with my dad was so much deeper. I understood him on a different level than I did ever before. And so it reprioritized for me what is important to me. And so my mom is still around. And because of that experience with my dad, my partner and I are looking to leave California to go be closer to my mom while she is still here. And that for me, family is a top priority. So a lot of things happen during that difficult time, but that are going to change the trajectory of how I'm in relation with other people.
I love the fact that you have made this a priority. That, I mean, I just confessed, I love people. And the idea that we have these people who care for us and care about us, especially in our younger days, right? And now we have the chance to try to care for them in their older days. It is such a wonderful passing of the baton. And it's also really poignant because my father had heart attacks back in December of 2025. And my sister and I would take 12-hour shifts in the hospital, just being with him, writing down, like, what did he eat? And, what was his pulse? And just all the different things. What kind of med did they just hand him? There was no place else on earth that I wanted to be. As hard as it was, as much as it sucked, as much as my dad was not loving being in the hospital, being there with him gave us all purpose. And so when my mom would show up, my sister would show up, we would all just, we'd hand off notes, but we would also hand off hugs and kisses and it was a reminder of, gosh, this family really is important.
Yeah. It's, and that is everything. And, you said it gives you purpose. That is one of my pillars of joy, is being connected to your purpose. And when we are that, and this again goes back to what you said about knowing ourselves and knowing our values, like knowing these aspects of ourselves and being open to living your life as opposed to life, living it for you, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, it's that autopilot, right?
Right.
I mean, I think it's impossible to steer a car consciously every second that you're in a car, and that's life, right? It's impossible to do, every single moment to have deep, deep meaning. And so we do have to set ourselves on autopilot sometimes, but we also have to look up once in a while and remember, oh, right, why did I set myself on this particular path? Why am I driving here? So your joy drive to me just speaks in so many different ways, because it's this figurative journey as well as this actual journey and adventure. So everybody tune in. You got to see it. It's
very cool. And, that was the purpose of that, was to go on that literal and figurative. Although I do say, I spent 20 years dreaming about this, and maybe the RV part should have stayed 20 years ago, and I could have done this in a jet, a joy jet. That's the future seasons.
Oh, okay. All right. So when you do Joy Drive, it may be Joy Jet.
Yes.
In Australia or wherever you go next.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's lovely. Well, so I want to take us back to the news, because I just know that a lot of people right now, it's hard to pull away from it. There's so much shock and awe and worry and hope and fear. On a day when it gets really big in your heart, what do you do? How do you find your way back to joy? How do you find your way to inspiration? How can you be kind to others when it feels so weary and tired?
I think it's because of the daily practice that I have, in which I care for my heart, that on the harder days, it almost feels like I have like a life preserver on that keeps me above the water. And so on those harder days, it's like either I am more compassionate and graceful with myself, and I allow myself to sleep in, to not have such a good day, or I dig even deeper and say, okay, what is that thing that you need to do today that lights you up? Who do I need to talk to? Where do I need to go? What do I need to listen to? And so it is being, again, present. And it doesn't make it all easy. As you know, I lost my cat. It's been the hardest weeks of my life, even though I just talked about my dad. I've never experienced something like this. And for me, it was creating that non-podcast podcast. because that gave me purpose. That in the hardest time allowed me to stay focused on something. So I think I just gift myself permission to feel bad some days and be okay with it. And then on those harder days, also do the things that feel good. And I'm never unkind to people. Like that's just, honestly, well, my partner might be like, no, but I think, like I said, that's like been a muscle that I have grown since I was a kid.
Right.
And I always say, like, just because you're in a bad mood, someone else doesn't deserve your bad mood.
I love that. Yeah. It is really easy to fight fire with fire. It's easy to get grumpy when things are not feeling good and then to let that out on somebody. And, I did it earlier in my life a little, and I hated it every time. Every time I came away from it, I always just felt like I need to find that person and apologize, because that was not the way to act. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because it can be tempting to let these things spill out onto somebody else. But I love the fact that you don't, that you really are intentional about that.
Our energy is everything. And I've always known, like, one of my favorite quotes, and that I've lived my life by, and I always laugh when I say Mother Teresa because I'm far from her, but let nobody ever leave you without feeling better and happier. And that's it. So I've always been aware of the energy that I leave in places, and the last thing I want to do, we're all going through a hard enough time on our own with all of ours. Like, somebody doesn't need my stuff on top of that. And if I do feel that way, then I'll just stay in my bed on my blanket with with my blanket and my cat, like my other cat, like that. That's it. I know better.
Do the self-care until you can do more. Yeah. Well, and can you tell the audience a little bit about your attitude towards self-care? Because I know that so many people that I talk to, they say, well, I just don't have time for that. I just don't have time for that. What do you say to that?
You have to make time for yourself. And there's time from the moment, like the days when I felt that way, there is something so simple. You wake up in the morning, you're in bed. Before you get up out of your bed, put your hands on your heart. Say, I love you. Say, thank you. That is a form of self-care, taking that breath. I do that. I have been a big self-hugger. This came to me a decade ago now, where I had a moment of a breakdown and thinking about my childhood stuff. And I said out loud, it just came out of me. I said, all I wanted was a hug. Someone to say, I'm sorry this happened to you. And I heard a voice that said, so give yourself a hug. And so I did. And in that moment, everything shifted for me. It's where the self-love journey began. And so every day since then, I do wrap my arms around myself. I tell myself, I love you. I'm proud of you. You've got this, whatever that message is that I need for the day. And it's that simple. We have time for that.
I love that. And I'm going to go one up, which is if you are listening or watching, you want to get yourself a weighted blanket. I'm going to tell you right now. Because
I don't have one, but I always think I should get one.
I will send you one, Shari, because when you are in bed and you feel like you want that hug, it feels like you're getting a whole body hug from your bed. And if you close your eyes and just sit there for a moment and just really snuggle in, that compression, that sense that you've got, it feels like you have like 6 cats that are all on top of you at once.
Okay, sold. I love that. Okay. I mean, I've always known the benefits of it in terms of, like I said, it soothes anxiety, all of that stuff, but I never thought of it as a hug, and I love that so much. Thank you.
Well, I know a lot of listeners are now going to go off and start snuggling into their beds later today, so that's great.
you need to get an Amazon link and put it in a showcase.
There you go. I'll put it in the show notes. The different. I get no money from endorsement of any of these blankets.
That might change when everybody goes to buy their blanket.
That's right. That's right. Get the Our Future is Kind special weighted blanket. Maybe that's the next thing.
Yes.
Oh,
love that. Our future is comfortable. Our future is warm, kind, and comfortable.
Our future is huggy. I love
I
it.
love that.
Okay. This is a random question, but I do have to ask. Do you ever go to like cat cafes?
So no, but only because of my partner, because he said if we go, we will want to take every single one home. And he also feels like his main thing is that we're cheating on our cats.
Oh.
He always says like, no, then we come home and they smell like, why aren't we spending time with our cats? And I'm like, we've got to give so much love to other cats. So
Right.
I have never done it, but I have wanted to open my own, and I even had a business name and a logo for it.
Oh.
I can't tell it because I can't believe that nobody with a cat cafe has ever called it this. I'll tell you in private, but
Okay.
yeah, because I'm like, I've looked it up. I'm like, Blair. Anyway, so no, I haven't. But
We can create a franchise later. I'll have one in North Carolina. And
okay,
awesome.
awesome. I love that.
So Shari Alyse, oh my gosh, the time has just flown. How can everybody get in touch with you? What are you working on next? Other than obviously writing this book with me.
Yes. Well, that is the number one, is writing this book with you and help to co-create a world that really takes care of each other and sees each other and is loving towards each other. So that I don't think there's anything more important than that, honestly. It's the world I want to live in. So thank you for that. And then, of course, hopefully future seasons of Joy Drive. Right now, I'd love for everybody to go tune into that. And they could just go to my website, which is easy enough, ShariAlyse.com, and all of my social media is on there. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, all of the things, talking about things that, not a lot of people do, or maybe TMI.
Well, yeah, hopefully everybody can track you down. I'll have all of this in the show notes, so it'll be easy if anybody wants to
Awesome.
follow up with Shari. But Shari Alyse, thank you so much for all the things that you've done. Last year we worked on the Human Summit together, and you hosted this amazing fireside chat where it could have been easy for you to be outshone by two people that you were interviewing, and really you were as exciting to listen to, as inspirational to listen to as either of those other guests that we had. So thank you for that. Thank you for Joy Unleashed and working on that great book and letting me be part of it. And thank you for joining Our Future is Kind, both the book and the podcast.
It is my joy. Thank you for everything.
This episode's Kindness Challenge. Make genuine eye contact and smile at one stranger or acquaintance each day. Shari reminds us being truly seen is one of the most powerful gifts we can give, and it costs nothing. Want to stay inspired so you can stay kind? Start each morning before leaving bed with one simple self-care ritual to fill up your own cup first. Place both hands on your heart and say, I love you, or thank you. Wrap your arms around yourself and speak one affirming truth aloud. And pause and take one conscious breath before the day begins. You've been listening to Our Future is Kind podcast, where building what's next is a choice. Make your next choice a good one and help build the future we want to live in.